How's everybody doing? So there was an event over on Steam, and it was called Next Fest. It was from June 16th until the 22nd, and it allowed people who, mostly indie game developers, to upload demos of their game. And there's so many different games that uploaded demos, and I tried as many as I could. I downloaded most of these, not all of them, about 80 or 90% of these, and I tried them out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I'm going to give you my first impressions on a lot of these games and let you know which ones I think are going to be really interesting. But first, let's do a little capitalism and check out some Windows keys. You know, without activation, you can't change your desktop wallpaper. You can't come in and customize your taskbar. You can't access any of this stuff here. You'll not be able to change to the dark theme, which is extremely important to me. Some of the other new features through Windows Update you won't get, so you definitely do want to activate. Today's content is brought to you by bobkeys.com. This is where I buy my Windows 10 keys, and every now and then I'll snag a game or something, but I just bought my 7th Windows 10 key here for Windows 10 Professional. You're going to get 25% off the prices you see here using coupon code TS25. So this is Windows 10 Pro, 25% off that. You want Windows 10 Home? Also, if you want to get a bundle with Microsoft Office and Windows 10, you can get that. Got all kinds of things, 2019, just lots and lots of things. Oh, this is a double 2PC. After you purchase your key, you just click up here, click on User Center. You click on My Purchased Orders. Just click on View Keys and Codes. Then in the middle of the page, you'll see your product key. Just highlight that. You're going to want to copy this, then press the Start button on your computer, and then type Activate. You'll see activation settings. Just go ahead and click on that and change product key. Paste it here, then click Next, and you will be activated. So again, thanks to bobkeys.com, TS25, head over there. The links are all on the top of the description. And I want to say something before I get started. A lot of times, indie devs especially, will start to share their game and hype their game way before they should. Because some of this stuff is like fresh out of the oven, and it's not ready for prime time. So people look at it and they're like, okay, that's interesting. And then they kind of forget about it forever. And when it resurfaces, it's like too late. It's like by that time in their mind, they're like, wasn't that like 10 years ago? I thought it was a zombie. That game's gone. So I'll mention when there's a game like that because I don't want us to compartmentalize that way, but that's what humans do. So first off, I played the new Blaster Master, and it's Blaster Master 03. And still a Hudson Soft game. So, okay, cool. The soundtrack, I'm going to bring this up. You'll hear me talking in the background, but the soundtrack is one of the best features. Down to this soundtrack. Is it too loud? All right, that's right. It means I can fall from the heights, recover. You can hear the soundtrack in the background there. Let me see if I can go back to the beginning, the intro screen. So, soundtrack really solid. But, let's talk about the gameplay, shall we? So in Blaster Master, you are a truck that drives around, and it's sort of a Metroidvania style game where you can like wall jump and you shoot, and you essentially drive around in this really ridiculous truck. And then you get to certain areas where you have to get out of the truck, and when you get out of the truck, it switches to a top-down view. Now, in my opinion, this game works best when you're doing the side-scrolling as a truck, shooting your stuff and upgrading your truck. It's would have been a really cool Metroid alternative. And even in the old game, I felt like we never really needed this top-down stuff. And the same feeling I'm getting here, like we don't need this top-down stuff. It's boring. It's slow. The combat's not as good. It's just two different games on top of one another. So it's better than the original. You've got some like weapons you can choose between and stuff like that. But really, I thought the game was just fine, and I was really hoping they would just do away with this top-down stuff. But I guess some people will enjoy the variety of gameplay. I just think that this version of gameplay, this top-down stuff, it's just not as fun. But that's my personal opinion. If you totally disagree, that's fine. You're welcome to do so. So let's move on to the next game. All right, maybe you want to play something that's very similar to the Anno games, but you're like, you know what? I want this to be set in China or Taiwan, or I forgot where this is set exactly. But let's see here. I'm streaming this. Let's just mute myself. There we go. Skip into it. So this felt so much like Anno, except I couldn't really tell what was going on because it's some of it's like I feel like the translation's not all the way there yet. But Oh, let's skip back, go back, go back. There we go. It was pretty fun, but it's literally just like Asian Anno. So if you like those kind of games, maybe check it out. I only played it for a few minutes and then realized, you know what, this is going to be a huge time commitment. And if I want to get into it, I'll wait. I'm going to wait until this comes out and just read someone else's interpretation of how it is. Like, is it worth putting a ton of time into? Because that's what I don't know right now. Is I don't know if this is going to be as good as the Anno games. Maybe it is. It's got cool graphics, a little slightly stylized, but we'll see. Pretty cool though. The Immortal Mare. If you like Anno, check it out. I'm blinded. Sable is one of the other games on this list that I feel like might be somewhat special. I'm going to cut forward just a little bit here. Just a little bit more. There we go. So Sable is a game that has an extremely unique art style with some kind of cool animations set in sort of a desert area. It's not really a wasteland, I wouldn't say, just kind of the area is very much like a desert. And the mechanics are very similar to like Breath of the Wild. There's no combat, at least not in the demo. But the movement mechanics and the stamina meter, you are going to recognize that straight from Breath of the Wild. And also, one other thing that they pulled straight from Breath of the Wild the mechanic that I really like is that you can walk up to any surface and climb. There's some very cool environments that you can wander around in, and I don't even know what you call this art style. It's like there's not a lot of shading going on per se, and everything just the textures are just like solid colors. But what do you even call this art style? It's interesting enough. And Sable is the character you play, the main character. Let me just skip forward so you can see I'm coming into the city right here. And I've kind of criticized some games for being a little dialogue heavy, and that's if it's done poorly. But this game has a little bit of charm. When you come into the city and you start talking to people, there are two different fonts that are used. And one font, this serif font here, this is used as an internal monologue for Sable. And it was usually kind of fun. And then when it switches to the sans serif font, then that's when someone's actually talking. And it's even here, they got a very minimal style interface going on. And again, similar. So many things are similar to Zelda these days. It's just easy to liken games to Zelda. Maybe they're not completely similar, but this one does have a lot of mechanics of like a game like that, where you're able to get items and use them and stuff. And even as we get a little bit farther forward, I'm going to skip through this. You don't need to see all the exposition. Lots of interesting characters. They're all wearing these crazy masks, and I don't know why. It hasn't really told me why they have these masks. There is some magic, of course, that's going on. I shouldn't say of course. It's not obvious, but this is cool. So you get on these like almost like speeder bikes. And come on, there we go. Really cool effect there with the smoke as you fly around and do things. Characters give you quests. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit. There we go. And I really did like her inner monologue. It was more charming and less annoying than some other games. Sun's going down there. We have our cycles. The movement system felt good. There we go. So go inside this building. So inside this building is the first sort of temple or whatever you go to unlock your future potential. And you have this, you get this cool stone here. Someone in the comments, please tell me is there a technical name for this art style? Like, what is this? So what's happening to her right now is you're getting your hover ability, which is essentially like in Zelda, in Breath of the Wild, when you jump and you bring up your, whatever it is, your glider. That's what this is here. You now have a glider. So let's go a little bit further forward in the game and I'll show you the glider. There we go. It doesn't look like a glider, but it encases you in this bubble and you float. It's a glider. And it's got a stamina bar. And the stamina bar is just like, it's very similar to Zelda. But it's very peaceful to wander around in this world. And I wonder if in the full game there's going to be combat. I didn't see any combat in the trailer for it. But it's very peaceful and fun. Subscription thing again. The set looks cool. The graphics look very unique and interesting. It's different. There I am, floating around in the world. Luckily, you seem to be able to float longer than you can glide in Zelda. It's got that really cool effect with Sable like inside that strange red bubble there. Go in and get my speeder bike and get the hell out of there. I really like how it looks at nighttime. It's got this soft blue look. All the environment changes. Lots of little touches and details everywhere. I think this game could be something special and something really interesting. So I'll definitely come back and replay this. Again, I don't know if there's going to be combat. I think combat would work in this game, but also if they just wanted to make it a chill exploration game with some like platformy puzzles or some dungeons or whatever that have like, puzzles on navigation puzzles and stuff. I don't know. I could handle that, but pretty interesting. Let me know what you think of this one. Let's talk about They Always Run. We're going to get into some side-scrolling Metroidvania style action right now. They Always Run, you play a character with 3 arms, and apparently that's not a normal thing in this universe because, it's just, there's a lot of badassery going on. But the art style is interesting. It kind of has this rough, brushed, painted thing going on. Let me just skip forward so we can actually see the gameplay. And you have swords that you can use, but there's a nice combination of moves that you can do with your third arm. So like if you get into battle with somebody, you can block, you can parry, you can roll through them, or if they block and you want to break through that block, you can hold down the right mouse button and then move your mouse. And this game works best with mouse and keyboard. I don't even know if it works with the controller, but you really need a mouse and keyboard to play this game. It just works well that way. Anyway, you hold down your right mouse button and you move the mouse, and your third arm will come out from under your cloak and punch the person to make them drop their guard. And then from there, you can take them out. So there's a variety of enemies that you can fight. The combat is extremely satisfying. And I found that a lot of the more modern side-scroller games that have a focus on like combat tend to go into the anime absurd levels of stuff where it's like you just smash the button a bunch of times and your character is doing like 74 flips, spinning the sword in all directions, and it's almost hard to tell what's going on. It's just almost like a badass acrobatic dance. But this, I actually felt a more visceral level of control over, and that made the combat feel much more interesting, to me anyway. So I thought that this one, out of all the third-person games that I played, had the best combat, and I am 100% going to come back and play the rest of this. I did not finish this because I got pretty far into it, and then I decided with a lot of these games, if I'm 100% going to come back, like 100% I'm going to play this, I don't want to know too much about it. So I stopped playing. Oh, I blocked too soon. It's really cool when you have people front and back. You can, since you have extra... Oh, I died. We're just going to end it with me dying. But yeah, so when you have someone in front and back, you can attack them both at the same time, thanks to all your extra arms. But anyway, I'm going to come back to this one. So, highly recommended if you like these sorts of games. And again, I think it'll probably end up being in like somewhere in the Metroidvania style of game. Okay, so you want a really weird Metroidvania style game, do you? Well, let's talk about Grime. I don't actually know what to make of this game. I don't know what the developers are doing when they made it either. I don't know what the point of it is. I don't. The setting is so strange. You're kind of like in this weird world. I don't know. You just have to see it. I don't even know what the plot is all about. But you play this almost perfect specimen, where like all these pieces of fractals and crystals all come together. You've got this weird glowing orb type head. Let me just skip forward a little bit right here. When something attacks you, you have to absorb it. I'm getting used to it right here. So when it swings, you literally use your head to absorb the energy right there. It's really strange. But that's how you attack, is essentially by defending their attacks. I'm not sure if in the future there's going to be other attacks. The movement in this game felt a little bit floaty and squishy compared to the other games, especially this was not a good game to be played right after They Always Run. They Always Run had a much tighter feel to it, but this game does have some weird stuff going on. I don't know what's going on with the some of the dialogue and stuff, and when you go in here and talk, they're all like, whoever you speak to inside here to get your upgrades is like, oh, you're so perfect. It's kind of almost weird them talking about like how perfect you are. So I probably won't come back to it, but it was interesting. I mean, kind of. Anyway, next game. Played a number of side-scrolling games. I do like side-scrolling games, especially Metroidvanias. This one was like a super cute game. I'm not sure if it's from Taiwan or from China, but they haven't translated yet. Haven't translated this yet. And I got extremely strong vibes of Bloodstained Ritual. Like really strong vibes. I don't know what I'm doing here other than like talking to the cutesy anime medic. It's kind of like I was just trying to figure it out as I went along. I couldn't find many bad guys to fight. In the first part of the game, you're on an airship. Oh, let me tell you something. The airship. Let me just show you what the airship looks like, because that is a penis. Where is it? Where's that airship? Here we go. Yeah, this is the airship that you're on, and I'm telling you, you're flying around on a giant penis. Like, I don't. It's too blatantly obvious. Come on. I feel like they think they're getting away with it. Look at that. Come on. Anyway, it's a very pretty game. It feels like Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The combat's not quite as tight as I would like for it to be just yet. This is the combat training. This is all the combat that I did. So it's very typical of a lot of the other similarly styled games. You've got your dash maneuver. You've got your flashy sword moves. But this one, again, did feel a little bit tighter than some of the games that are like this. The combat felt pretty good. The dash does not go through the enemies. So if you're trying to dash to avoid their attacks, it's not going to work. You get your wall jumps and stuff like that. And then you've got plenty of items and upgrades. There's a lot going on in this menu system, and it's a little bit over my head, but the gameplay did feel really smooth and good, and I think we're going to see a lot of interesting games coming out of China and Taiwan in the near future. So Steam's pretty big there, Tencent's pretty big there. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting games coming out of there, so we'll see. We're going to stay on the same exact style here and check out Glimmer in the Mirror. So this is another side-scrolling game, but this one looks a little bit more like Ori and the Blind Forest, and it has a beautiful hand-painted style. And again, you play as a girl whose hair, let me just get to the game, a girl whose hair looks like a bunch of dolphins trying to get free. That's what we have here. Soft music, pretty backgrounds, and I thought this was going to be like a really chill exploration game, you know? It's got this beautiful autumn vibe going on. I like the different layers they have going on with the foreground and the background as you move around. But then, you know, like, I didn't expect you're fighting monsters and stuff. So it's the controls and the combat and stuff felt a little bit like, you know, Hollow Knight. Again, Ori and the Blind Forest come to mind. But it was done pretty well. Like, it's if you like games like this, there's really nothing new. And also, what's up with a lot of games having a little almost like Navi style thing flying around behind you? As you play this game, you unlock a few little critters. Let me see if I can get to the part where I have one. There's that thing. Is she gonna give me a critter? There we go. You got these little critters, and they fly around behind you, and you can have multiple ones that fly around behind you. And again, it's kind of like Navi from the Zelda franchise. Each one of these has a different power that they imbue you with. Some of them will give you a bonus to hit, some will give you a bonus to health, that kind of stuff. And there's also, as I'm running around in this demo, I beat the demo, but there are a lot of areas where I see, oh, that ledge is too high. So that's going to be a classic Metroidvania style thing where I know that I'm going to have to get some sort of power up. Maybe I'll collect another one of these little floaty animals that jumps around my head, and I'll come back and be able to jump onto that high ledge and then find some new power-ups. This game has plenty of power-ups, speaking of that. And just in the demo, I could see that there's going to be a lot of stuff you can unlock, a lot of slots to fill in, just all kinds of stuff. And the boss battle wasn't too bad either, you know. Here we go. So we can get to there we go. Get a little bit of this boss battle going. There we go. But again, it doesn't feel that new. It's just if you need more of this kind of stuff, this was pretty cool. Glimmer in the Mirror. Remember that name. So, and it's also extremely beautiful. I feel like we're going to start taking some of this stuff for granted, and it's all going to start feeling like normal and generic because Ori and the Blind Forest did it really well, and they did it first as far as like this really, really good hand-painted style goes. But they did a good job here. So, I'd recommend it. All right. Greak. I guess it's Greek? Greek? I don't know. I really need a controller for this game, unfortunately, because I like my mouse and keyboard. Even with side-scrollers, I prefer mouse and keyboard. But this game is kind of unique. And let me just skip right into it. So when I first started playing, I noticed the art style was beautiful. I noticed the characters were really cool. Of course, that's me taking some screenshots. I always get a few good screenshots. But the sword, the movement, it felt really good. Let's go ahead and skip into the gameplay a little bit. So, you know, it's so far nothing new. You know, interesting, just another pretty side-scroller game, but with some hand-drawn assets, nice foreground and background juxtaposition. They did a really good job of whenever you go behind something, you see your shadow cast so you can still maintain and fight, even when you're behind, you know, something that's in the foreground. But the interesting mechanic with this, and what makes this different compared to other games... Oh yeah, by the way, the music... Let me turn it up. Really good music. Like, very good music. Alright, I'm going to turn it back down now so we can talk. I also want to commend them. It's a full like orchestral theme. A lot of oboe and a lot of woodwinds, which I really appreciate. You mostly with this kind of stuff, you get the heavy brass and like violins and stuff, but I really appreciate some woodwinds. They give it a sort of mystical, mysterious, sneaky vibe. All right, let's get into what makes this game different. All right, you meet a friend. You talk to the friend, and then it switches. So then you're controlling your friend. So she's a little wizard witch. I'm not sure what she is. But the interesting thing is you control both of these characters by pressing the left and right directional buttons on your keypad, and each one has different abilities and stuff. Now, this kind of reminds me of Trine, where you have multiple characters that you can switch through, except in Trine, the characters are all one, they're all tied together, and they switch based upon that. Like whenever you push the button, you switch between one or the other, standing in your exact place. This game, when you press the switch button, the other character's back waiting, kind of like the Lost Vikings or something. They're waiting back where they used to be. So again, we've seen this kind of stuff before, but check this out. We hold down L2, and then it combines them together, and now we're controlling them both at the same time. So now we can move both of them together, which is an interesting mechanic that I don't think I've seen before. And it's fun. And it gives you another layer of puzzle solving that you normally wouldn't have, because you can position one character on a pad that like moves something. You can have like, there we go. One character is going to have to stay there now. So there, he can stay there, keep that open, and then she can go up and open the door for him elsewhere. Sometimes you'll have to have one character like lower a ladder for the other character, but it's going to give the player more interesting stuff to do. And right now I checked, this is listed as a single player game. Why is this not multiplayer? This would be so cool to play with friends. It would be difficult to play locally, because when you switch characters, one character may go way far away. So this would probably be a game that you'd want to play either networked. That's probably why it doesn't support, multiplayers, because if you want to try to play this on the same, side by side on the same computer or whatever, it's going to be weird. But playing online multiplayer, that would be really cool to do with this game. It looks beautiful. It plays really, really well. And it is a lot of fun. And the puzzles are that you can do with this dynamic. It's like another level of interestingness. Could be special. And if they figure out a way to add multiplayer, it'll be a ton of fun. Some of the jumping puzzles and everything. The swimming is pretty. Just going to skip around a little bit here and show you. Like, the environments are cool, the enemies are cool. Being able to aim where you're shooting is really cool. So, this game does so many different things right. So, anyway, there you've seen enough, I think. Let's talk about another game that I didn't expect to like as much as I did. And I'm really glad I played this game. I'm going to try to liken it to some things, but I haven't played too many games that are in this genre. Let's just jump right into it. I always go to the options first. Does anyone not go to the options first? Is there anybody on the planet? So you wake up and you're in this really cool futuristic lab. Some weird stuff's gone down, obviously. Look at all these vats. I'm not going to give away too much of the plot, but I believe you came out of a vat when you first started. I think so. You're going to have memories as you go through this game. But yeah, we're already in like this weird underground lab. It plays beautifully with a mouse and keyboard because, as you can see on the screen, my cursor, my reticle, they follow the mouse. So you can aim in any direction you want to. Let me just skip to the part where I'm pretty much out of this. You can get upgrades. There's interesting puzzles. And this looks like another game that's going to have some RPG elements where you can level up your character, level up your items, gain new items. I guess a game to liken this to would be sort of Zelda, you know, like, but it's what is that genre called, you know? Like top-down kind of RPG. You've got your menus that you open up and go through, and you can equip different things. I'm going to go ahead and equip my sword there. There it is. And of course, breaking pots, because any game that's kind of like Zelda, you got to be able to break pots. Let's go outside after I learned how to play a little bit. Oh, there's some bad guys to kill. What is that thing? Looks like a spider Metroid demon. And here's where it shows like you're having a flashback where you've gotten out of your container. Why were you woken in your container? All right, let's go outside. And the world, as you can, Jesus, we've got to run from this. This kind of reminded me of Metroid 2, where it's like, run from the monster before the place explodes. I don't want to give away too much because it's fun. All right, we're outside here after having a bunch of flashbacks. And guess what we've got? A little Navi-like thing flying around beside our head. I mean, it's cute and all that. It tells us what's going on. It gives us clues. It tells us about, like, hey, get the map, and hey, we need to go here next. There it is. Every game needs a little thing that flies around above your head. And you know what? Most of them are not as annoying as the original, which was, in my opinion, I think Navi from Zelda 64, which is Zelda Ocarina of Time, was one of the originals that flies around. At least these all don't go, hey, listen. Like, it gets annoying really fast. So here's a spot where you can go and install new chips. So you're not just getting health upgrades. We've got a little Deus Ex going on right here. We can go and install new chips, which unlock new abilities. And then you can also buy new slots to install even more stuff. So not only are you dealing with weapon upgrades and health upgrades, but we also have essentially an augmentation system. And normally that's going to be like, you know, a little bit too much for me, but they did this well. You know, it works. It's not bad. So I'm actually looking forward to this game coming out. I think this will be something that you like want to sit down and play for a while. I want to see this thing with a CRT filter because it's got the pixel art going on, but like my brain remembers a lot of these games with that slight Gaussian blur thanks to all the pixels. Oh God, combat. See if I can skip forward and show you some areas. A lot of, you'll notice this is like a puzzle you'll see a lot in these sorts of games where you smack something and it changes something in the environment, opens a gate, raises or lowers a platform. So, you know, it's just, it really is the Zelda design school. So we've got maybe a few new style combat or movement mechanics like the dash. You gotta have a dash, right? I mean, everyone's got that. Anyway, Unsighted. There's so many games in this list that I'm going to be like, I need to come back to. But I think this is another game that could be very interesting and could possibly be special. You know, just have to see how it comes out. But it's really polished already just for the demo. So, nice job. And now we're checking out Usurper. And this is an interesting game where you play a knight that goes into a dungeon and you die. But then you are brought back as a ghost, and it's sort of like a roguelite, they say. What happens is you, as a ghost, you go into different dungeons and different areas, and you progress forward. Oh, another content pack I see here. Let's just skip forward into the actual game. And then as a ghost, you have to bring someone's health down enough. There we go. You bring someone's health down. This is where you get cursed and sent into that terrible world. There we go. Skipping forward a little bit. There we go. There's your ghost. Talking to your creepy plague doctor who happens to be the merchant. I don't know why the merchant is a plague doctor. This game does not feel ready to play yet. The combat's kind of clunky at best. There's a little bit of jank involved. Obviously, Unreal Engine. It's a lot of the assets I recognize from the marketplace. There we go. Let me just go forward. So here it is. I'm taking over this guy's body because I'm just a ghost right now, and I've taken over his body, and therefore I usurped this guy. And that's something you can do as you're playing throughout the game. When you get someone to a low enough health, you can just essentially shoulder block them with, I believe it's control a few times, and then you take over their body and you keep going and you just keep playing deeper and deeper and deeper into the game. But my problem was that the combat was, it's okay. It just feels a little bit clunky and slow. I'm not very good at this. But even then, it just, I don't know, felt clunky and slow to me. Let's see if I can show you a little bit of the combat. So you got your dash, you have a parry move, and you also have a block. You can do all three of those. And one thing that's weird about the combat to me is you lock on to the bad guys, which makes it difficult to target the other bad guys when you're locked on. Like right there, I was locked onto the other guy and it screwed me up. But you don't have to lock onto the bad guys. But when you lock onto the bad guys, it's easier to target individuals. And sometimes if you're not locked on, it's very difficult to target individuals. So you kind of like almost have to lock on. It's me dying. But when you lock on, you move much slower. So there's like a penalty for locking on. And I feel like that made the game a little bit more difficult than it should be initially. But I don't know. This is not something I'm going to come back to. It was okay. Just a little too slow and clunky for my taste. So not coming back to that one. What's going on here? All right, let's look at another side-scrolling game. This one is Whisper Trip. And it's, I guess, a Hotline Miami style, but it's a side-scroller. You go through environments, and you're like a ninja. It's pretty. The movement works okay. But the thing with this game is, like, your character faces the direction that your mouse is going, but your character wants to go to the right. Your character will not turn to the left until you move your mouse really far to the left. Like there's a certain spot where that's where he'll turn left, or she'll, I guess, turn left. The fighting is kind of funny. You can hit bullets, and I kept feeling like, I've played this game before, but I'm not sure where. Satisfying, there's Ninja Gaiden style jumping. In order to get up to the high spots, you have to jump and then attack. It takes a little getting used to. You have to almost attack straight above your head. It's kind of weird. So getting used to that, and it's something that was pretty difficult for me. But you just go through these levels and see how fast you can beat them. There's a bad guy. You just, there's a timer going, and then just cutting people in half. Brutal. I feel like I've played this game before, but where? Ah, yes, Katana Zero. I kept, like, while I'm playing, like, literally, I was like, what is this? Well, what is it? And then I remembered, Katana Zero. Katana Zero, from what I have seen, is like a pixel art version, of the same game, but it came out first. So similar. And as it stands, I don't see any reason to play that game over just, if you haven't played this one, just get this one and play it because it's so similar. And Katana Zero is quite a bit of fun. You have a rewind mechanic, but it's really the same game. And I think this one has a better style, better graphics, and possibly better control and better movement. So I would recommend this one. We'll wait and see where, was it Whisper Trip or whatever, we'll see where that goes. Maybe it's just way early in the development process and there's a lot of things that are going to change. Who knows? But right now, if you want a game like that, it's kind of like side-scroller Hotline Miami, where you have these really crazy high energy, high speed levels that you do over and over, and like you try it, then you restart, then you try it, then you restart. I would recommend this well above the other one. So this is Kalturin, and Kalturin is a I guess it's like a roguelite, maybe. No, not really. I don't know. It's kind of like Gauntlet. It's fun. The voice of this character is hilarious. The character sounds cool. Whatever. Anyway, this game is extremely similar, like I said, to like Gauntlet. It's just, you go through the different levels. This wizard kind of has he brought you back from the dead. And so he's got control over you and he can tell you what to do. One thing I'm not very good at and I don't like, there was a few levels that were like this. Instead of actually using your combat skills, you are dodging stuff, like trying to figure out ways to get through the levels. But it's just like there's small levels. You touch the water, you die. That's like a theme. As soon as you touch the water, you're dead. But the bosses were fun. You know, got some bullet hell style stuff going on. The movement was fun. The combat was fun. Didn't really like the environmental levels where I'm just like running around dodging stuff from the environment. Felt like I was playing the worst level in Battletoads, but I do like this kind of stuff. Look out. You got a few cool moves. Got some magic you can upgrade. So I think I'll come back and play some more of this one. I don't know though. Maybe I didn't really like some of the levels, but I liked. It's like I loved some of them and really didn't like others. Anyway, cool graphics too, but very similar like Gauntlet type stuff. Oh, more boss fights. The boss fights were actually really good. Like dodging these things. I almost died during this boss fight. Yeah, the boss fights were really fun, and it's very standard fare for what you would anticipate from a game like this. You know, like the bullet hell style projectiles going in all directions, running around the map, dodging them, or not in that case, getting away from them when they come up close. So it was fun. I played another game called Industria. And I'm not sure why it captured a little stuttery, but it did capture slightly stuttery, so sorry about that. But this game, at first I thought it was going to be kind of a interesting walking sim, but like maybe a little bit of a horror walking sim, kind of like Penumbra or something. It had that sort of feel. Whatever, I forgot that right now. Their nautical themed newer game, I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it kind of reminded me of like the Penumbra. Some people said BioShock and stuff like that. You can like pick up things, move them around, has that like interesting feel to it. But then you go outside, like after going through like this weird lab and figuring out you're in some sort of alternate dimension, Germany, I think around the time of the Cold War. And after you get outside, let me see if I can just skip way forward to it. There we go. I'm just going to find another. There we go. Come on, let's get outside. You go through all this stuff. You get outside and all of a sudden you're fighting these weird looking robots. And the combat does not feel good, let me tell you. It feels weird. It's not the worst. I swear those machine guns feel like hit scan weapons. I didn't pay enough attention to know for sure. But the characters look really cool. But it's like two different games. It's cool and interesting because you have these two different games that seem like they don't go together perfectly, but these damn things. Because it's like such a weird switch between that almost explorative walking sim style suspenseful game into this just like very heavy on the combat, and the combat's not done that well. And you can switch back and forth between like playing in a first-person style to playing in more of an interactive style by, I think, pressing the Q button, and then it moves into like a mode where you can interact with the environment a la Penumbra or something. So this game did not give me enough to go on because we just have this really super linear area here that comes right after the exposition in the beginning that leads to nothing. I feel like the game does not tell me enough about what it's going to be. So I don't know what to expect from it in the future. And there's also that happens a few times here. I'm just walking around like, where the hell did I get shot from? Dead instantly. So maybe I'll come back. I doubt I'll play it again unless they do something. It could be just really, really early on. I don't know. Okay, we need to chill out after that. We're going to play Terra Nil. So Terra Nil is an inverse city builder, whereas most city builders are all about going into a nice environment that's got lots of trees and stuff and replacing all the trees with parking lots and buildings and cities and roads and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this one, you have to start off by building some power. There we go, I got that moving around. You build power, then you build these environmental cleaner type things, and then you build irrigators, and you start to, let me just see here, we got all these different ways to put these things on here. Yeah, you essentially just reforestation. So I'll skip forward a little bit here. There's several different things you can do. You can reroute rivers, you can, pump in water. That's a calcifier, I believe, which allows you to plant. You have to put the turbines on a rock, like solid rock. You can't put them on the ground. So you may have to use a calcifier to, turn a few of the tiles into rocks that you can use. So, and then as you play, see there in the bottom, I now have 1 and 2, like 2 things there. So now I can create newer types of structures and stuff like that. The game was slow and chill, but I don't know. I was like halfway getting into it. Maybe I'll play a little more when it comes out, but I don't know. It didn't fully hook me, other than the fact that it's, fun, kind of. I don't know. I think I'd rather play City Skylines, which is awful because it's the opposite of this. Like, I should want to be good for the environment and do good things. Let me cut a little forward here so we can see if I put in an arboretum. Those are really cool looking. There we go. Put a beehive and then flowers go everywhere. So it is kind of cool to put stuff down and then see what happens around it. I'm going to want to know what happens like after a while. Like, where do I go from here? Like, so it's kind of fun, but I didn't find myself feeling like I wanted to play this outside of just doing this for the video, if that makes any sense. Even though it's really pretty to look at. And you do need to see what it looks like when I put an arboretum down. So arboretums, there we go. You have to burn a section of your property to make ash. And then from the ash, because that makes nice fertile soil, you can plant arboretums, put arboretums down. You zoom in really close, the graphics are nice. So like I said, I just didn't have an enormous amount of fun with it. But it's one of those ideas that I feel like it's going to hit the zeitgeist. Devolver Digital might have a hit on their hands. I think this is Devolver Digital. So they might have a hit on their hands here, but probably not going to be something I come back to. If you think I was not going to talk about Death Trash, oh, we're talking about Death Trash, but I saved it for last because it's the game that everyone recommended, and everyone's like, you got to play Death Trash. Here we go. Of course, going into the options. I'm not going to get into what Death Trash is about. There's my character I made there with their floppy animations. Now you can control this game in two different ways. You can either use the mouse to move your character around, or you can use WASD to move your character around. And it's supposed to be sort of a spiritual successor to the original Fallout 1 and 2, but it feels like something new. The only thing that I felt similar so far was some of the world, the grittiness, the fact that you start in something that's kind of like a vault, except this is like, it's got these robots that are there and they tell you have to leave. And there's something implanted in you that makes you throw up all the time. And the throw up is like used as biofuel, so you can puke anytime you want. Here's those robots. They're like, you got to leave. They don't tell you why. They're just like, you got to leave and you don't come back or we'll vaporize you. So you make your way out into the real world. And then, there we go. Got all kinds of items you can upgrade. You can get upgrades yourself. You can level up. I'm playing it ultra widescreen, so I keep running off the screen and stuff. And I'm sorry you can't see that. Like right here, the ultra wide, I'm like off the screen. So let's see if I can skip forward and show you some of the stuff. The combat is interesting because it's real time. And if you're someone who really hoped for a game that was like the old Fallout games, 100%, and even had a VAT system, that sucked. This is not going to be that game. It's going to be that, but real-time combat. And I want to say I couldn't figure out how to heal myself. So I played most of the game with like one sliver of health and had to keep dying and reloading. It was extraordinarily frustrating. And I'll come back and try to figure out how to, how to heal my character soon enough. But yeah, these fights were kind of fun. You have to reload your gun. There you go. Fight. Run! So, I'm off the screen fighting. Oh, shit. Sorry about the ultra wide screen. Just skip forward. There we go. Come here, cutie, they say. There's also like cool quests you can pick up and stuff, depending on where you go. Let's skip forward a little bit. The map is very similar to Fallout in the fact that you can click anywhere on the map and go places, even if there's like nothing, like no landmark on the map. You can just click and go into the middle of nothing, and it's like a place like this. Or you can like click on like actual places. As you're moving around the map, you might discover places like this. There's meat growing everywhere. It's weird. Anyway, all this is just to say that this game is... Keep going in and out of there. This game is probably going to be special. It feels right. Like something about this feels really right. I just need to figure out how to heal myself so I don't die every 5 seconds. That got so frustrating. Like literally, I played the entire... I just thought maybe I could sleep on that bed. Nope, that mechanic doesn't work. I had like stuff in my inventory that said that I could craft some healing items, but I couldn't find anywhere to craft the healing items. But you don't just have to kill all the animals. You can try to charm them and then pick them up, but it didn't work there for that living piece of meat. some cool characters in here with dialogue options, just like the old Fallout games. Depending on whom you've talked to in the past, it may open up new options for you with who you're currently talking to. So this game's going to be good. I mean, it's going to be something special. And I know Dave wishes he could publish this, but see him online yelling about it, like, why can't I publish this? So that's another way you know it's going to be good, because he's someone who really likes the old Fallout games. Anyway, that's pretty much the end. I think I've talked about enough games. I'm going to break this into 2 videos. So, yeah. There you have it. A lot of games. Let me know which ones you think look really interesting. Let me know if there's any that you tried as far as the demos go that I didn't mention. I tried to stay away from some of the really, really, really big, obvious, like AAA style titles and stuff like that, or stuff that I felt like didn't really feel as indie. Because I do think indie gaming is the future for people like us, as in, like, we're not the what is it, the lowest common denominator. We're not just like the regular person who wants to play Call of Duty. At least I don't think all of us are. Maybe some of us are. You just want to jump in and shoot a few people and jump out. That's fine. But if you want like a really nuanced, carefully built experience that's specifically tailored to your tastes, it's out there. There are hundreds of indie games. And if you can't find it, then I think it's because you haven't looked hard enough, because the game that was made for you is out there. So hopefully this helped you find something that might be exactly what you're looking for. And always look at the indie games, because that's where the nuance is. There. Said my piece. Everybody, please head over to epicpants.com. Grab yourself one of these mice featuring the 3310 sensor, which is my favorite sensor, despite the fact that there are other sensors out there that have slightly fancier things. Grab yourself one of those. Or one of these water-resistant keyboards right here. We could hold down where's the function button? Function tab. Change the color there. Anyway, there's that. And then, of course, we have really cool t-shirts like this Flyhander t-shirt over at epicpants.com. Thanks for watching. See you later. Just a stop record button.